Welcome to the Inspired to Greatness podcast, where we share insights and inspiration for entrepreneurs, business owners, and salespeople to be their best selves. In today's episode, we'll talk about accountability, a crucial component of success in business and life. As an entrepreneur, you have to take responsibility for your actions and the outcomes that they produce. Being accountable means acknowledging your mistakes, taking corrective action, and holding yourself and also others accountable for achieving the goals. Whether you're working solo, managing a team, whichever, accountability is essential for building trust, improving performance, and achieving results. In this episode, we'll explore what accountability means, why it matters, and how to cultivate it in yourself and your team.
Inspired, of extraordinary quality, as if arising from some external creative impulse. Greatness, the state, condition, or quality of being great. This is Inspired to Greatness.
Welcome to the Inspired to Greatness, the show all about spreading inspiration, motivation, and being great. I am your host, DJ Matt Blake. Very excited to introduce my special guest co-host today. That is Patrick Blake. How are you, sir?
I'm very wonderful today.
I'm excited. You guys have heard me talk about Patchy on the show before. He wrestles. He's a musician. He's in musical theater. He's working on being Gaston in Disney's Beauty and the Beast Jr. right now.
Yep.
A lot of stuff going on. So we hope you're having a great day. It's a beautiful 80-degree day in Fort Worth, Texas. And today, we mentioned it, we're going to talk about accountability.
Yes, sir.
So accountability, just before we start into it, and before we talk about the definition, and we talk about quotes and all that stuff, Patch, tell me, just going into this, and everyone understands you're a 16-year-old, you only have the experience that you've gotten so far in your life, but
Right.
What do you think accountability means to you?
Well, coming from an athletic standpoint, you have to take accountability for, doing what you need to do. Like, in your mind, I got to go to practice. I got to eat right. I got to take care of myself so I can handle business when we get to the mat, Yeah. And so to handle business on the mat, you got to handle business off the mat. And that goes for life, too. I mean, at work, if you ain't taking care of yourself, then how can you hold yourself accountable to a higher standard than your competitors or stuff like that?
I love it. See, my son's got a great start, y'all. He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
He's a cool dude. If you guys are watching this live on our Facebook, go ahead. You can drop comments in the chat box, and we'll see you, and we'll try to acknowledge you as we get going in the show.
Mm-hmm.
So as always on the Inspired to Greatness podcast, and I can say as always, Patrick knows because I'm very excited that my son does listen to my podcast occasionally.
Yep.
So as always, we're going to start off with some quotes. The first one, which is from Moliere, says, "It is not only what we do, but also what we do not do for which we are accountable."
Exactly.
Which basically means, and I'm sure you understand, Patrick's nodding, I'm sure he gets it.
Yeah.
But what that means is if you say you're a student like Patrick, if you don't get your homework done, you were accountable to do that. You didn't do it.
Exactly.
If you're a business owner, if you don't, focus where you need to on growing your business, that is your fault. You're accountable for the things that you don't get done so that you can reach your goals. And it's easy to be not accountable at all if you have nowhere you're going, if you have no goals, if you're not trying to accomplish anything, right? If you're a slug in life
Right.
and a slug in business. But when we'll touch on this a lot later, there's always someone to be accountable to. And that's, and I'll just, and faith, we celebrate faith in our family, and we have faith, and we're Christians, and we love God, and we love Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
But one of the things I say, I don't believe in atheists. I don't believe in atheists. I believe in people who are scared to be accountable to someone outside of themselves.
Yeah.
And being accountable, you have to be accountable to yourself. You also have a team. Maybe you have a boss. Maybe you have children. Maybe you have a spouse. But you're also accountable. If you have no one else in your life, if you're living alone on an island, I mean, first, you do have to be accountable to yourself, but you're accountable to God up top. He started the whole thing. He built you.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it's about. All right. Pat Summitt said responsibility equals accountability. Accountability equals ownership, and a sense of ownership is the most powerful thing a team or organization can have. If you have a team, like you've played football many years,
Right.
and you were in marching band, as a team, you're responsible for your position.
Right.
And so that means you're accountable for to the rest of the team for making sure you hit your responsibility.
Exactly.
And if everyone on the team has accountability, then you have an ownership on the victory. It's what I always tell you boys, and what I tell other people who listen and watch the podcast, is if you don't take responsibility and accountability for your losses, do you get to celebrate the wins?
No, because that ain't your win.
Because that ain't your win. Because if it's not your loss, it's not your win.
Nope.
And I've told Patrick, I've mentioned this on the podcast before. I've told Patrick he lost one time, and it was a close match, and he was like, "That ref called it. I wasn't really pinned." And I said, "Well, if you don't put yourself in a position to be close to being pinned, he can't call something that's not a pin, right? Yeah. And so you have to own all the W's. All the L's.
Yeah.
If you want, we all want to own the W, right?
Yeah.
We all want to be Adonis Creed at the end of the movie.
Exactly.
We all want to be Rocky Balboa, right?
Right.
Patrick's talking a little bit like a gangster because we just went and saw Creed, and we love sports movies, and we've been really digging into the Creed movies. So that's a good one. All right, final quote before we get really rocking and rolling is Tamara Renee said, "Accountability feels like an attack when you're not ready to acknowledge how your behaviors harm others." So, if you talk about it from a team standpoint or a business standpoint, your actions or lack of actions can impact and harm other people. If you're a salesperson and you don't do your job, then the company could suffer and employees could suffer. If you are a lineman and you don't get your block, quite literally, your quarterback could be harmed, right?
Yeah.
And if I, as a parent, aren't accountable to take care of my responsibilities, then I could not be able to pay for your sports and pay for private lessons for your brothers, and I could not be able to pay for food to put on the table. Right. Other people will be harmed. And if you're not ready to accept responsibility and understand that your actions have consequences, if people are trying to hold you accountable, it can feel like an attack. Like, you boys sometimes get real upset when I approach things from a standpoint of you have to get your grades in order. And sometimes I know you boys can feel attacked. You're like, "Oh, I'm blah, blah, blah." But that's just, you guys are younger, you're more immature, and experience-wise, you're not ready to accept that full responsibility sometimes. Right. I know you understand in a broad sense it's your responsibility, but that's why you can feel like an attack, especially if somebody you love and care about, your friend, your spouse, your girlfriend, they're getting on to you. If you weren't taking care of your responsibility, it can feel like an attack if you're not ready to do that. So to get started, we need to ask some important questions today. What is accountability? We had Patrick talk about it at the top of the show. At its core, accountability is taking ownership of your actions and their consequences. It's about being responsible for the outcomes you produce. Say it again. It's about being responsible for the outcomes you produce. That is a great way to think about it. And whether they're negative or positive, you have to take responsibility when you don't go, you don't get it, you don't make it happen. Like if my family didn't have food on the table, I have to take responsibility. Then also, if I have the money to take us to the arcade and then the movies, I get to take responsibility. Like, exactly. I'm killing it right now, right? Right. So you have to take responsibility, whether positive or negative. And when you're accountable, you're willing to admit your mistakes, learn from those mistakes, and make changes to improve your results. Accountability, and this is a difficult one for people, especially younger folks, accountability is also about holding others accountable. As a leader, whether you're talking about business, sports, family, as a leader, you need to set clear expectations and standards, monitor progress, provide feedback, provide support to your team. You also need to hold your team members accountable for meeting goals and fulfilling their responsibilities. Let's do several examples of that. Right. Family example. I let you guys know, my sons, you're responsible for passing your classes. That's the expectation. You'll pass your classes. Right. And I hold you guys accountable to that. We have grade reports and progress reports, and we use that as a tool to measure where we're at. And then the report card comes, and then we have that tool to measure success. So I hold you guys accountable, and you know you have responsibility.
Right.
In sports, your coach holds you guys. Your coach doesn't say your responsibility is to win.
Right.
I mean, at a certain level, coaches say that to their players.
Right.
But let's talk about high school sports. Your responsibility is to go out there, do your assignment to the best of your ability, right?
Exactly.
That's what Coach Kate says to you guys.
Exactly.
That's what Coach Barrett says when you're wrestling. Go out there, do what you know, and do your best at it, right? So that's the expectation. If your coach sees you out there dragging your butt or not hustling, he will. And the scoreboard is a tool to measure, right?
To measure that
Are you guys, for the team. If the whole team goes out there and performs their best possibly and does their assignments, the wins are going to come.
Oh, yeah.
But if you go out there and half of the team isn't being responsible, then the L's come.
Yeah.
And then it's important to take ownership. The player has to take ownership, the team as a whole, and the coach. Because the coach did not hold the players accountable enough. Right?
To notice that and take care of that themselves.
Exactly. Good job. So why, the other question we need to talk about, why does accountability matter? Why does accountability matter? Accountability is essential for building trust and credibility. If you're not accountable for your actions, who can trust you? What kind of credibility will you have, right?
Yeah.
When you're accountable, you demonstrate integrity and reliability. Reliability is huge. Those are critical for building strong relationships with customers, partners, employees, friends, teammates, parents, children, all that kind of stuff, siblings. Accountability also fosters a culture of responsibility where people feel empowered to take ownership of their work and take initiative to improve their performance. So let's talk about areas in life where you can take accountability and there's a positive outcome for that. So like I told you, we'll start with the family aspect because we're doing family today. We got Patrick on the show. I told you if you get A's and B's this reporting period, then the last reporting period of school, you can get a job. Right. You had a job last summer when we don't do freshmen working and going to school. My personal opinion, I don't think they're mature enough to handle it. It doesn't matter one way or the other, what everybody else thinks, but that's how we run our family. Right. So now Patrick has ownership of that expectation. So how does that make you feel? Do you feel like you can control whether you get to work, or do you feel like it's not up to you?
It's entirely up to me. If I don't go in there and I'm not asking my teachers, hey, what is it I can do to fix this grade? What can I do to get to the next level? The only person I can blame for that is myself. I can fail a test and the teacher maybe didn't teach as much, but then I can go in and I can say, hey, I know I failed this test, but I think I could do a retake. Could you please let me do a retake? Or do you have extra credit assignments? And you can go in there. And it doesn't matter how you did on that test. You can relearn the subject if you study and you apply yourself and you have accountability for that failed grade, and you realize that you need to pick it up.
Right. Awesome. So that way, now if Patrick hits his goal and gets A's and B's this reporting period, then he can go have a job, and that'll feel like a win. Right. And then if you don't hit it, then you know I can't have a job, and I know why. I know it's because on me. It's not like my parents are unreasonable. It's not like the world's unfair. It's like maybe I should have not played Call of Duty or Apex or whichever and studied this week before this exam, right? Yeah. You have the autonomy to make that happen. And listen, guys, I don't like ride my kids every day on like, did you do this? Did you do that? When we're having bad times in school, I will ride them a little closer. But I don't. I mean, a daily basis, I'll ask you, how was school? Yeah. But a daily basis, unless they're like doing very poorly, I'm not like, what do you have to turn in? What do you go to? Blah, 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 blah. So I used to do that when y'all were younger, but it was more important to check in with you guys on a more consistent basis because you weren't old enough to have the responsibility yet.
And it helped build a backbone and like a, I don't know how to say it, like a habit of keeping myself to that level.
Exactly. Good stuff. So in business, when you have an employee or you as a leader take ownership and your people, whether they're above you or below you, see you taking accountability and taking responsibility and fulfilling that and hitting the goals or whatever it is because you're accountable, then that means they can trust you.
Mm-hmm.
When you have friends who they're like, I rely on you, that's another way of saying I hold you accountable. I rely on you for something, right? So if you rely on someone for something, they consistently hit it, then that person can feel proud that they can be trusted. It builds credibility, it builds trust, loyalty, reliability,
Right.
and it builds integrity, because if someone consistently says, I'm going to do this, and they do that, then you can rely on them to take care of it.
Yeah.
Like, I will say, you'll be in trouble if you don't pass your classes, and then if you don't pass your classes and you're in trouble, you can rely on the fact, right? It works all the different ways.
Yeah.
So what are the benefits of accountability? So if you're accountable, if you practice regularly, take responsibility and practice accountability, improve focus and productivity. So accountability helps you stay focused on your goals and ensures you're taking the necessary steps to achieve them. Lots of examples. I'm accountable to my coach to hit my block. And if I'm doing that, that's important to me, I'm focusing on it, then I will be more productive.
Right.
If my employer or my parent wants me to make sure I get my work done, and I know that I'm being held to that standard, then it helps me focus. I need to get this done because they rely on me. They're holding me accountable, right?
Yeah.
So if there's no accountability, there's no reward or there's no consequence, it's really difficult to motivate yourself into something.
Right.
Right. You have improved relationships. So when you have accountability, you build trust. Building trust through accountability can lead to improved relationships with your customers, colleagues, team members, your people that work for you, your family, your friends, all that kind of stuff. So if your relationship is strong, because strong relationships are built on trust, and I say this all the time, you'll work with and do business with people you know, people you like, people you trust, and that happens because you know you can count on them. You know they'll take accountability. And I have vendors like my insurance people I buy stuff from, people who provide me with a service. If they don't get something done, just because they don't hit the mark doesn't mean they don't take accountability.
Right.
Right. So if they still take responsibility and ownership and like, listen, I'm sorry about this. We're going to get it better next time.
Yeah.
That's different. If you miss the mark and then there's no accountability, so then the person who didn't hit it blames, oh, we couldn't get it done because, the supplier was out of, or, the weather got us, or, it was a holiday weekend.
Right.
Then I don't have trust and I don't feel like I can rely on this person to get it done, because they don't feel like they messed up, even though they let me down as a customer. Right.
Just like on the football field, when someone missed a block and they say, well, there's nothing I could have done. Like, this guy, he's like, they say something like, he's coming off the line early. There's nothing I can do to stop him. Well, if I can't count on you to be able to handle yourself out there, then you're not going to play on the line for me anymore.
Right.
And so we're going to find someone that will take accountability. And even when they miss that block, they'll say, I missed it, coach. I'll get it on the next rep. Or I'll go out there and I'll make sure I hit that kid harder next time. That's exactly what accountability looks like.
Good one. And the third benefit for accountability is increased motivation. If you know there's something to celebrate, it's motivating to get there. Celebrating successes and learning from failures can be a powerful motivator and encourage you to keep pushing toward your goals. If you accept responsibility, if you're accountable for all the steps along the way to the goal, you're going to get to celebrate when you get there.
Yeah.
If you don't have accountability, then, you don't really feel it like as a personal thing. You're like, it's not my fault. Like, there's a big esoteric thing here about having accountability, being responsible for your own happiness in your life. And while that's a big thing, other things can impact your happiness. But then again, a separate topic, and I've told you this before, Patrick, you can't control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you react to it, right?
Exactly.
So really, you are the only person accountable for your own happiness. You got to decide, am I going to be happy with where I'm at? And I'm not talking about settling. That's different. We've had a whole podcast entitled Don't Settle. But in the grand scheme of things, you have to be grateful. Practicing gratitude is huge and enormous. We mention every show. Practicing gratitude and being happy with where you're at in life is very important. Like, I might not have the greatest house in the world, but I'm happy with it. I like it. I know this isn't the end stop.
Oh, yeah.
But you have to be happy with where you're at along the way.
Exactly.
You know a lot of people. I know a lot of people. You see them probably every day in school, in the wrestling world, I see them in business all the time. People who are unhappy with their job and unhappy with their car and unhappy with their house and unhappy with their friends and unhappy with their relationships. And it's because, listen, folks, this is key. It's because they don't take any kind of responsibility for their happiness.
Nope.
And they're like, no, it's not my fault. My job sucks. It's not my fault. I got a crap car.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my fault. My friends are mean to me. My spouse is mean to me. All that stuff outside. Well, fine. Be a victim for the rest of your life. You know, I'm going to be happy over here. Me and Patrick are going to be rocking and rolling because we're happy. Because we accept responsibility for where we end up in life.
Mm-hmm.
And I know as a child, I mean, he's enormous, but he's still a child. You know, they can't control as much as an adult because your parents will put you in positions maybe you didn't choose, but you still have to decide what you're going to do with that situation. And more importantly, how you're going to react to it and how you're going to feel about it.
Right.
So the quote we talked about, accountability feels like an attack when you're not ready to acknowledge how your behaviors harm others. This highlights an important aspect of accountability, both in business and in life. So when someone's not ready to acknowledge how their behavior harms others, being held accountable will feel like a personal attack against them.
Right.
However, it is important to remember that accountability is not meant to be punitive or hurtful, but rather a necessary step in personal and business growth. If you're holding somebody accountable and they're upset about it, if you have a person that works on your sales team and you say, these are the numbers I need you to hit, and that's what you hold them accountable to, and they're like, well, I didn't hit the numbers. And, if they want to blame things, they'll blame the economy or they'll blame the time of year or whatever. They might feel like they're being attacked personally, but that's not what it is. I'm just holding you accountable to the goals that were set.
Right.
And you have to be a good leader and not set goals that are unreasonable. You have to have a discussion. Hey, this is the goal we're setting for you this quarter. Does that seem reasonable? Patrick, this is the goal we're setting for your grades. Does this feel doable? And once you come to an agreement of what a reasonable goal is, then you hold that person accountable to that goal. Here are some, and I think that's a powerful quote. So we're going to do some key points here when implementing this quote into your business. So approach accountability with empathy. Empathy is huge. It's like the number one key to emotional intelligence and understanding people. So when you hold someone accountable, it's important to approach this conversation with empathy and understanding. Put yourself in their shoes, see things from their perspective. This can help to reduce defensiveness and create a more open and productive dialogue, because we as the leaders, or me as the parent talking to you, or the coach talking to the player, we have to understand that empathy is important. We have to try to understand this other person's position. That's the first step.
Right.
Then they don't feel so attacked. Because accountability is on both sides. The person who then we're talking to also has to understand and be empathetic and know they're being held accountable. They should hold themselves accountable, and we're also holding them accountable, right? So they need to understand that we are just a leader. I am just your parent. They are just a coach holding this person to a certain standard. Why are we holding them to that standard? Well, once we all understand that, because we're trying to understand each other, right? So if you approach these situations without bothering to understand why, like, okay, why did they not meet their sales goal? Why, okay, I understand the economy is difficult, but this was a reasonable thing. Is there a personal problem in their life? Are they struggling? Are they just not getting something? Do they need to be retrained on something? Is this player having a difficult life off the field?
Right.
What is going on? And that'll help you discuss it with them in a more positive and impactful way.
Right.
Rather than like, yo, you didn't hit your sales goals, so get your crap together.
Exactly.
Right? If the coach comes up and says, Patrick, you missed that block. Don't be a blockhead. Get it right next time.
Exactly.
That'll impact you one way. But if he comes up after practice, you've had a bad practice, is patchy poo. Listen, you missed a lot of blocks. Are you doing all right? Are you having an off day? What's going on? That's a better conversation than just a coach yelling at a player, right?
It's him coming down to my level and talking to me, not talking with me, not talking to me,
Yeah.
So instead of him saying, you messed up, I need you to do better, he's saying, hey, you messed up. What can we do together as a team to fix this so you will improve and the team will improve further from there?
That's a hard thing as a parent. I'll tell everybody listening right now, and while my child is right here, it's very hard when your child misses a mark or they let you down, or they don't get something done, it's very hard to approach your child because you're like, I've got so much more experience than you. I told you this is what you need to do. You just need to do it. It's very difficult to approach that situation with empathy and understanding because we're already very empathetic toward our kids.
Mm-hmm.
I promise you guys, and anyone who's a parent knows it, and Patrick, I hope you know this, that we're already very empathetic towards you. We want you to do well and we care about you, right? But it's real hard for us to say, if this stupid kid would just do what I tell them.
Yeah.
I have a problem a lot with your brother, David.
Yeah.
So David likes to talk back. He's always had that kind of thing. He's always been very stubborn when he's told no from when he was really little. It's a weird thing with him. And that's just part of his personality.
Yeah.
And so when I say, hey, y'all knock it off, rather than just even what doesn't matter. Like there could be all three of the boys screwing around and only the youngest one is screaming. Daniel's yelling and I go, hey, y'all calm down. And Patrick's like, okay, we as a group, he just wants us to be quiet. I know it wasn't me. We're moving on. Mm-hmm. And Daniel will be like, oh, I was being too loud and move on. He won't really, but he'll say that. But then David will be like, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
I wasn't being loud. And so it's hard for me, like instead of just saying, y'all calm down, so to keep David from talking back, I could come in there and say, hey guys, Daniel, you need to calm down a little bit and don't be so loud, right? But you have an understanding because you practice the empathy. You know I'm not attacking you guys.
Right.
But David, there's something with that kid, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. And one day I'll figure out what it is. I'll figure out what it is because he's done it since he was little and it's been a struggle our whole life.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But it also, I'm bouncing off that, it goes to another level too because as brothers, we have to hold each other accountable as well. Yeah. So when Daniel starts going off and he's like, yelling or whatever, and then you have to get on to us, then all three of us are in trouble now because we couldn't keep Daniel quiet, and then David starts popping off at the mouth or whatever.
Yeah. And
so then he gets in trouble, and then now all three of us are in a bad spot because we couldn't keep each other from getting into the trouble.
That's awesome. That's a really good one, Patrick. Like I know I've had the discussion in various different times about various different things, and I've said, listen, you boys are a team. Mm-hmm. We are Team Blake, and you guys take care of each other, but also make sure y'all get your crap done.
Yeah.
Right? You hold each other accountable.
Exactly.
And then you hold yourself accountable to be a good brother to Daniel and David.
Yeah.
We don't always succeed at these things.
No.
Sometimes we're jerks, right? It's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
My little brother was, it's fine because my little brother was a piece of crap. I didn't have to be nice to him. So, but, it's difficult. And what's important to know is that when you learn those skills with your brothers in a safe environment, the world's not going to end if y'all fight.
Exactly.
The world's not going to end. But the world could end if you fight with a coworker.
Or a boss.
Or a boss, because then you lose your job and then you're in a tight spot. And what if you let your family down if you have one? Or what if you go off on your coach because you don't understand how to...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be it.
You lose your spot. You lose your... if you're in college, you lose... If you're in the NFL, imagine if Dak Prescott yells at the coach, he's not going to play ball.
No.
Get off the team. We're
exactly.
not. And then no team is going to want a player who can't work within the team.
Exactly.
No group of friends is going to want someone in the group who can't work in the group.
And who will drag them down.
And no employer wants an employee that won't hold themselves accountable and not lash out.
Right.
Oh, it's good stuff, Patrick. Here, this goes right along with it. Number 2, focus on behavior. Not the person. When addressing problematic behavior, it's important to focus on the behavior itself and not the person.
Yeah.
By separating the behavior from the individual, it's easier to discuss the issue objectively without causing unnecessary harm. I don't come in and say, Daniel, I hate you. I come in and I say, Daniel, you're being too loud.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like what you're doing.
Right. And
from a biblical standpoint, we can talk about this because if someone does something we feel is morally wrong based on our beliefs, we don't, it's cliche to say, hate the sin and not the sinner. Well, whatever, okay? But that is a good example of target. Target's a bad word. It's kind of adversarially, framed. But if you attack, that's even worse. The behavior, if you discuss the behavior instead of the person,
focus the behavior.
Yeah. This blocking was not good. This blocking needs to get better. Not, Patrick, you're being a lazy blocker. Why are you on my team?
Exactly.
That's a different way to approach it. In the work, sales are not doing well. Not Joe Smith is not doing sales. Like you're not like there's a time and a place to talk about the person because you have to say your goals, your focus, and your behavior needs to change. But in the initial speaking,
you usually only ever have to get there when it stops becoming a behavior and it's a habit.
It's a habit and it's a habitual. Yeah, it's over and over. And so the accountability is gone. You can't rely on this person anymore. There's no credibility. There's no trust.
Yeah.
Number 3, use I statements. This is super difficult for me. When giving feedback or holding someone accountable, it's important to use I statements rather than you statements. For example, saying, I feel hurt when you don't follow through on your commitments is less attacking than saying you never follow through on your commitments.
Mm-hmm.
Something I also don't like is always and never. Patrick, you never listen. Well, that's not true. Patrick probably listens 80% of the time, maybe 75. Patrick, you never listen. Like that feels like you're just like, well, why should I bother? He never thinks. Like if I'm talking to somebody who's working for me, say it's a salesperson, they're out selling photo booths or selling DJ services or whatever, and I say, you never close the deal. Or there's always a problem with every event you book.
Right.
That's instead say, listen, I don't like when your events have issues. Or you can't say you. I don't like when these events are having issues. We need to figure this. Or Patrick, I don't like when you don't listen to me.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Even if it's only a like 1% of the time thing, that's still not always.
It's not always. Yeah. Even if it's almost every single time. And listen, even if it is always, or even if it is never, like Daniel, you never put your dish in the sink. Even if it is never, you instead of saying that, if I say, Daniel, I get upset when you don't put your dish in the sink.
Yeah.
I get upset when you don't turn in your sales report. Then that at least is not attacking them.
Yeah.
And that's more, I didn't mean to upset you.
Yeah.
I'll try to remember to do that in the future.
And that also helps show that you're holding them accountable by saying, about the dish thing, I need you to put that plate in the sink.
Right.
So rather than saying you need to be doing this all the time, whatever, it's I really need you to do that so that we can clean it later. Yeah. And so it starts
so we have something to eat on later.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it from a sports metaphor. Everybody loves sports, especially Patrick. Yeah. If the coach says, you always miss your block. This is horrible. You always miss your block. We just can't operate like this.
Yeah.
That sucks. That's your coach. And then you go back up to the line and you're like, my coach has no faith in me.
Yeah.
But if your coach says, I need you to hit all your blocks.
Yes.
That is, okay, coach, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you, dog. We in this.
Yeah.
Straight up bet. Whatever you could say.
Exactly. And that's another point when it comes back down to your coach leveling with you and working with you rather than trying to, like a hammer on an anvil, trying to like meld that metal.
You can eventually beat someone into submission, but they're not going to work as hard as the person that feels like they're on the team.
And they won't have the same kind of improvement either.
And they don't have ownership because they're not being held accountable. They're just like, do it or I'll beat you. Do it or I'll beat you. Just good. Number 4 out of 5, so we only got two more. Provide clear expectations and consequences. When holding someone accountable, it is important to provide clear expectations and consequences for their behavior. This can help to ensure that everyone is on the same page and that there are clear consequences for not meeting expectations. Patrick, get A's and B's or you can't work during school.
Right.
Very clear. Exactly. You know what you need to do. You know what the consequence is.
Right.
Guys, I want the kitchen and the theater cleaned up by the time I get home or we're not going to go see a movie. Exactly. Very clear, very clear. Johnson, I need you to turn in your sales reports or you're not going to get paid a commission. Very clear consequence.
Right.
Team, I need you guys to hit your blocks. I need you to perform up to expectations or we're going to do up downs for 45 minutes.
Yep.
Whatever it is, work with your team, work with your family, work with your whoever it is, and set the expectations. Expectations are sometimes very, very difficult to hit, but the closer you get to it, the greater the reward and the less the consequence.
Yeah.
Talking about real life scenarios, when you talk to yourself, Matt, I need you to book this many gigs this year. Consequence, you'll lose your house. You'll lose your truck. You won't be able to go anywhere. You won't be able to feed your kids. They'll look down on you. They'll hate you. Whatever, right? I know you won't really hate me, but Like real life, when you learn to apply this stuff when you're young and in your job, then in life, your accountability is so important. It's so important. You have to set expectations for yourself too. All this outward stuff, and we've talked a lot about outward expectations, like other people holding you accountable and you holding other people accountable. But boy, you have to hold yourself accountable.
That's the most important.
That is the most important, because it's all pointing outward is not good. All pointing inward is where it's at. Hold yourself accountable. Hold yourself for success.
And it ain't fair to hold others accountable when you don't even hold yourself
That's
accountable.
right.
So
That's
if you
hypocrite,
tell someone,
man.
I need you to do this, and then you don't even do it yourself, then
I think the
that's
worst
hypocrisy.
thing you can be in the world is a hypocrite.
Mm.
It's horrible. And I know my children have accused me of being hypocritical before, because parents have a big thing about do as I say, not as I do. And there's times when it might be slightly appropriate.
Yeah.
We have to keep our children in a tight boundary.
Yeah.
Right? We have to keep you guys in a safe space where you can make certain mistakes and it doesn't screw up your life.
Right.
But like, so you can say dumb things to your brother and we can correct that. But if you say dumb things to someone else outside of our circle, it can cause a problem. If you, if you screw around in the house and tell an inappropriate joke, you just get in trouble. But if you go on the internet and you tell an inappropriate joke, you can lose scholarships and jobs and future, right? So we hold our children to a smaller scale of accountability so they can practice and they can screw up and they're safe.
Yeah.
We need to do a whole podcast on parenting, for criminy sake. And finally, recognize the benefits of accountability, which we just talked about. While accountability can be difficult, certainly if you're holding yourself accountable, it's important to recognize the benefits that come with it. By holding ourselves and others accountable, we can promote growth and then build trust and credibility, and we've already discussed, improve relationships. So, key points when implementing this: approach accountability with empathy, focus on the behavior, use I statements, clear expectations and consequences, that is gigantic, and recognize the benefits. If you do this in everything in life, there's a benefit to the hard work, right? If I diet, I will feel better and lose weight. If I diet, I will lose weight. If I lose weight, I will feel better. If I feel better, I can do more. Mm-hmm. If I study harder, I will pass my classes. If I pass my classes, I can get a job. If I get a job, I can put gas in a car if my parents buy me one. And, if I learn these habits early, they'll transition to my job and my career. Exactly. If you hold yourself accountable to turn in your sales reports and hit your sales goals and do your job appropriately, it can come, the benefits could be, improved income, promotions. One day you don't work for somebody, you work for yourself. Yeah. That's all benefits of holding yourself accountable.
And putting it into a team setting, if your team does well, but you didn't hold yourself accountable, and then everyone else gets to celebrate, and you're there, but you don't feel like you've earned it,
yeah,
then it ain't the same.
That's a bad feeling. That's a bad feeling. Adonis Creed felt that a little bit in the movie today. He didn't feel like he deserved to be where he's at.
Yeah.
Even though he might have deserved it.
Oh, yeah.
But he just didn't approach it right. So by approaching accountability with empathy, all the things we just said, we create a culture of growth and success in our personal and professional lives. If you're not reliable, if you're not accountable, you're not going to want to have people aren't going to want to be around you. And if people aren't around you, you cannot be successful as an island. I'm sorry, folks. You cannot be successful by yourself. Elon Musk is not successful because he chose to do everything by himself and not have teams. He has teams. He has teams that get this stuff done. Accountability is critical for achieving results. When you're accountable, you set clear goals, expectations, you track progress, you make adjustments. Just because you're not on track to hit your goal doesn't mean you can't adjust, refocus, start a training montage, and hit that goal, right?
I saw something, it was a while ago, and it said, just because the plan changes doesn't mean the goal does.
Yeah.
And you always got to be working towards that goal and hold yourself accountable to reach that goal no matter what you're doing right now in life.
Right.
So you make a goal to make X amount of money per year, and you're not doing so great at work, or you're not doing so great at home, and you got to just kick it into high gear and work for a promotion, ask for extra hours, put in extra work to hold yourself accountable to reach that goal no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. You need to learn from your mistakes. Use that to use the knowledge rather from learning from mistakes to improve your performance over time. Man, I love to fail. I love when I do a marketing campaign or do a sales campaign and it doesn't work, I know another way not to do it.
Yeah.
Move on. But you probably learned ways in the, it's every little way. Accountability is a foundation for continuous improvement, innovation. Because if you're not accountable, you're not measuring, and it doesn't matter to you. You're not paying attention to what you're doing. You're not paying attention to any of it. Improvement and innovation are critical for staying competitive and growing your business. If a team or an athlete is not learning from their losses, they're never going to beat better opponents.
Exactly. It's like in a wrestling situation, say you're at practice and you learned this new move and you're like, that's awesome, I want to try it out. And you go to that meet and you try it out in your meet and you get whooped. It's bad. And then I either got to shake it up and pick a different move, adjust that move, or entirely just change
or your
style.
execution, or what if you didn't execute it correctly?
Right.
You go re-examine why you failed at it. Yeah. Part of the failing process. So you can't fail and then change and do better. You have to fail. There's a step in there where you analyze. You have to go watch tape of the game. Why did we do poorly?
Exactly.
Blake wasn't on his block. Blake, get on my block. Yeah. But then you analyze that. Why wasn't I on my block? Oh, you know what? The play was called this way, and I accidentally went this way. So more focus in the huddle. More focus in the huddle. Whatever the issue, why didn't I hit my sales goals? Well, you know what? I spent time going out on dates. I spent time playing Call of Duty. I didn't go to networking events and make the connections I needed to hit my sales goals.
Right.
Hold yourself accountable, not just 9 to 5. It's what do you do in those out? Because if you're going to be a successful business person, you're not stopping work at 5 o'clock. If you're going to be a successful student, you don't stop focusing on your academic career when the bell rings.
Right.
And if you're going to be a successful athlete, you don't stop being an athlete when practice is over or when the match is over.
It's a grind. The only time that you shouldn't be thinking or working towards your goal is when you're resting, like when you're sleeping especially. Yeah. But like even if you're just sitting around the house and you're like, it's my rest day, I already got my workouts in for the week, I already put in the hours. Think about
you can train your mind.
Exactly. Yeah. You can pick up a book about the subject, about your work, about what you're doing in the field right now, and you can figure out what are some other tactics to improve myself and be better.
Improve yourself overall.
Exactly.
Like not just like I don't just want to be a pinnacle wrestler that can go out there and throw people around. I want to be able to have an intelligent conversation with people.
Right.
So, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome. As business owners, folks, we have to wear many hats and juggle multiple responsibilities. And I feel it. It is easy to get overwhelmed. It's easy to lose focus. But with accountability, when you hold yourself accountable, we can stay on track and achieve our goals. So we're going to be talking about some more key points here in a little bit, but there is no better accountability partner than your customers. If you fail, your customers are going to let you know. If you let them down, they're going to let you know about it.
So like if you're out there and you're DJing and you mess something up and you I don't know, miss a beat and you switch songs wrong and it don't sound good, everyone hates it, or you play a bad song, people will let you know. They'll go sit back down, or they'll straight tell you, they'll say, hey, we don't like this, we need something better. And so that's when you go, okay, people don't like this, we change it. It's
funny, as a DJ, I get a lot of instant feedback on what I'm doing, right? Like I was DJing a party last night, and we're doing a bunch of disco, we're having a good time, and then I kind of changed it up a little bit, and then the dance floor is empty. I'm like, well, we'll not do that again.
Exactly.
You get instant feedback, and I wish everybody could have instant. I mean, in sports, you do, oh, well, that play didn't work, we need to not do that on the next down. Right. Football, you get a lot of that. Wrestling, you do have rounds, but if you fail at something, it can be over real quick.
Oh, it's even faster than that too. If you take a move, like you take a shot on someone and they sprawl too fast for you, that's an immediate reaction of crap, we can't do that.
Didn't work well.
Yeah.
All right, we're in the middle of the show. We're actually, the second half of the show is always shorter. But my business tip today is because I went to Apex Live on Thursday, and the tip is find a mentor and a network that will hold you accountable rather than be an echo chamber for any misguided ideals you may have. Social media is an echo chamber. I go out there and I say, this is good, this is good, this is bad, this is bad. And my friends are all like, yes, here, absolutely, say it again, preach on, brother. And that can be good in one sense. You surround yourself with people who believe like you. Yeah. And two, it validates sometimes.
Right.
But it can be bad where if it puts you in a position where you no longer accept outside perspective.
Yes.
Right? If if you get with a group of friends and you're all like, we don't like this, we don't like that, but it's because of them and it's because of this, and everybody can start getting that group think, and then nobody elevates themselves out of the den.
Right.
They're all just wrapped up in there. And if you're wrong, hey, I'm wrong sometimes. Patrick, you're wrong sometimes. You don't want people who are just going to say, yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, heck yeah, man. Screw that, whatever. But you want someone who will hold you accountable for when you're wrong and be like, you know what? I feel like that's probably not right.
Yeah.
Maybe take another look.
Yeah.
Maybe consider this.
Yeah, that happens a lot in the classroom, especially for like in high school, especially. Middle school is there, but in high school you start to get the teachers that say like, hey, you did not do that right. Like, you need to go back and review your notes. You need to go home and study more.
Yeah.
And it's insane how it can change if you really do take that into consideration and you go home and you do that stuff.
When I went to Apex, it's a mindset. It's a mentoring group and a network. And I have a lot of successful people I hang out with. A lot of the people I network with and hang with. And the problem for me right now, and I'm in a big struggle bus, is that the people I'm surrounding myself with are all just about as successful as me. Some are a little more, some are a little less, but I'm the average, and that is precisely what will happen to you.
Yes.
You will average out to all the people you hang out with. And when I went to Apex, I was networking, talking with, and listening to people who earn hundreds of thousands, tens of millions of dollars a year. There's billion-dollar salespeople in that group.
Exactly.
And if I want to elevate myself, what I then have to do, and this is difficult, is you have to create a new network, create a new group around you.
Yeah.
You can outgrow a mentor. You can outgrow a mentor, especially if they're not on the same angle of trajectory as you, right? Unless they start just way above you. But I haven't been good enough to find a mentor that is just, like, I've had some great mentors, like DJ Kelly Hooper is amazing, and she mentored me a bit when I started. Jeff McCune mentored me a bit. To a degree, Bill Cody mentored me a bit. But there's kind of a thing where DJ Kelly will probably always be a better entertainer than me, but we're close to the same level as far as like how busy we are and like our business goals.
Yeah.
And so I want to find somebody up at that next echelon, like to do more. Like, I'm not just a DJ. I book photo booths. I book other DJs. Last night I had another DJ working an event, and I was at one.
Yeah.
And I book you guys, and I book entertainers and all kinds of stuff, coordinators and everything.
Yeah.
And so you have to rise to that next level. It's not that you don't appreciate the people who got you where you're at, because they're always going to be a part of your network. But you also have to get some people in there who are going to elevate the game. And that's a big part of finding a mentor. You want to find someone who's going to hold you accountable to a higher level than the people around you right now.
Exactly.
Because the people around me right now are used to saying, man, you're doing great. You're doing great. I'm glad to see you so busy. I don't necessarily want someone to be a mentor to me who say, oh, you're doing great. I want them to say, you could be doing better. You could be doing better.
Which is why we have places like, how you move up in like different levels. Like in school, you don't stay in elementary school all 18 years.
Or like the JV team and the varsity team and then college.
Yeah. And so you outgrow those lower level coaches. So if I went back to my middle school coaches and I was doing drills with them, I'd be popping them out. My coaches would only be able to sit there, clap their hands, and say, yeah, you're doing great. You're doing super good. And they can't have any negative feedback for me to work off of.
Right.
And so those high school coaches that I'm working with now are starting to get to that point where they're like, you're doing good, but do this next time.
Yeah.
And that's when you start to improve and better yourself.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great one, Patrick. Damn. That is awesome. And as you were saying that, it reminds me that you can outgrow an employer, right? I've worked for a lot of small businesses where I peak and you got to move on. And now I've peaked everywhere I've worked. Essentially, there's, I'm not chauvinistic and full of myself enough to say that I've done better than all my employers. That's not what I'm saying. But I've done as well as I can do there. Yeah. And it's time to move on. And now where I'm at now, as a single DJ, just booking myself, last year I got to the best I can be doing that. So you can only raise your prices so high.
Right.
So now to continue growing further, now I got to take myself out of the equation. And I got to say, okay, every weekend I got to have 4 DJs booked. That's the next goal, right? Every weekend I got to have 4 DJs booked, 2 coordinators, and a photo booth out, right? So you take it to the next level. So I can't just use mentors who are single op DJs.
Yeah.
They are at the position I'm at. I need people above where I'm at.
The worst thing you could do is find a spot where you're doing good, peak at that spot, stay there, and start to decline.
Life,
then you can't do anything.
You know what I heard this week? Life is a treadmill.
Mm.
If you stop, you're going backwards.
Right.
And it may not always be true that you're moving backwards, but guess what? Everyone else is moving forwards. If you stop, the crowd will pass you by.
Yeah.
Life is a treadmill. Run on that baby.
And those teammates. Once your teammates pass you, even
Then you're done.
You're
You're stuck on JV. You're a senior on JV, and all your friends are on varsity.
Exactly.
Or they're moving on to play college ball. Yeah. All right, so we end the show with a motivational moment. We have 3 more quotes. We wrap it up. We talk about a few more things. Here we go. Quote number 1 by Mahatma Gandhi. It is wrong and immoral to seek to escape the consequences of one's acts.
Ooh,
yeah.
That's a good one.
That's good, brother. You gotta take responsibility.
Exactly.
You gotta take responsibility. If you've made a mistake, there's no use in trying to escape the consequences. It is important to own up to your actions, take responsibility for the impact they've had. This is not only the right thing to do, but it's also the only way to grow and learn from your mistakes. By facing consequences of your actions head on, right there, you'll develop the resilience and the perseverance needed to overcome challenges and succeed in the long run. My brain just flipped right there. It didn't want to say the word.
When push comes to shove, if you aren't there to take it and push back, but accept what you did to put you in that situation, then you're never going to better yourself, and you're always going to be the worst at what you do.
Right. Or certainly not as good as you could be, right? Remember, so mistakes are an inevitable part of the journey towards greatness. We are inspiring toward greatness here. It's not how you handle them that defines your character. I mean, it is how you handle them. God, what is wrong with me? I'm like losing it. It's seizure week. I'm losing my mind. How you handle your failures is what defines your character. It sets you apart. Failure can destroy you and set you back, or failure can fuel you to learn, grow, and move forward. Don't be afraid to take ownership of your actions. Embrace the lessons that come with them. With the right mindset and attitude, you can turn any setback into a stepping stone towards success. I want to do an episode on failures one time where we get some people on and we talk specifically about failures and what did you learn? How did that catapult you to the future?
Yeah, because like even in the movie we watched today about boxing and sports and stuff like that, sometimes that step back is what you need to push yourself forward, to take that next punch, to I don't know, catch that.
What did Rocky tell Creed? He told him one step at a time, one punch at a time, one round at a time. Yeah. Just take it and go. Where am I? Okay. Doug Larson said this is, oh my gosh, Patrick, this is big. This is big.
Yeah.
The reason people blame things on the previous generation is that there's only one other choice. Ooh, it's your fault.
That's facts.
That's and it would be also equal to say the reason people blame others for their failure is because there's only one other choice.
That's yourself.
That's yourself.
And you don't want to blame yourself.
No.
You want it to be someone else's fault.
You want it to be someone else's fault,
almost
but
never is.
That's escaping consequences. That's escaping accountability.
Right.
And I'll tell you right now, this is a bold statement. I say it all the time. I tell Patrick this all the time. Certainly, Patrick, when we talk about sports and school, but in business, in life, and everywhere, if you fail, it is your fault.
Yes.
Because if it's not your fault when you fail, then what?
It's not your win.
It's not your win. Not your fault when you win. Good stuff. All right, final quote, and we're going to jump into some crazy, crazy cool stuff. Steve Maraboli said, "Take accountability. Blame is the water in which many dreams and relationships drown."
Ooh,
woo!
That's a good one.
If you're sitting around blaming everybody else, you're never going to succeed.
Yeah.
It's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. It was their fault.
Yeah.
That's just not how it's going. We broke up because of this. She did that. She did this. Whatever.
Like if you're poor and you're sitting at home and you're like on your crappy couch in your crappy apartment looking at your crappy TV watching the news and you go, "That's why I'm poor, because the economy's bad," and you're not out there working.
Yeah.
That ain't the economy's fault.
Hey, the economy's been really bad and I've done well.
Exactly.
The economy's been great and I've done well. The economy's been great and I've done poor. The economy's been crap and I've done well.
Yeah.
It's not the economy's fault what I do.
Exactly.
It's not. Blaming others for our mistakes, shortcomings, and failures not only hinders our personal growth, can also damage our relationships and hinder our success. Here are some things to consider, 5 quick points when taking accountability in your business and your team and your life. Number 1, take ownership of your mistakes. When we make a mistake, it's important to take ownership of it, acknowledge our role in the situation, and it'll promote a more productive conversation when we're working on somebody with it, right? Take ownership. 2, avoid blaming others. God, we've been hammering this point and it's big.
Right.
Blaming others for our mistakes can damage our relationships, hinder our personal growth. Instead, focus on finding solutions and taking steps to prevent the same mistakes from happening in the future. If you are making the same mistake over and over again, chances are you're blaming something outside yourself. If you are continually unhappy, it's because you're chasing happiness somewhere inside of yourself. That's probably why.
It's like the quote that goes, what does it say? It's something like doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Yeah, is the definition of insanity.
Exactly.
Right. Yep. Did I say learn mistakes already? Learn from mistakes. Every mistake is an opportunity for growth and learning. By taking accountability for our mistakes, we can learn from them and become better versions of ourselves. To quit blaming people, learn, and move forward. Take ownership. Don't blame other people. Learn. Number 4, foster a culture of accountability. In business, it's important to foster a culture of accountability where everyone is encouraged to take ownership, both of their mistakes and their wins, work together, find solutions together. This can help promote growth. It'll achieve success. It'll improve relationships. Everything's built on relationships. People don't hire me to DJ their wedding because they don't like me as a person. Like, you have to like me. I'm going to be entertaining at the most important day of your life.
Right.
So it's all about, people don't buy things. People buy people. People buy people and the relationships. And people don't even really buy that. People buy solutions to problems.
Yeah.
And I, as a person, can help relieve this stress and this problem. That's why you hire me.
Yeah.
And number 5, celebrate successes and failures. Successes and failures are both important parts of the journey toward greatness. We already discussed this. By celebrating both, we can create a culture where everyone feels supported and encouraged to take risks. If someone fails, celebrate it with them.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. We're not going to do that again, but now we don't have to make that mistake. We got it out of the way. It's done. It's over. Moving on. I'm going fast because we got a couple of big things I want to hit before we end the show. We're close to an hour. Taking accountability is essential for personal and professional growth, while blame can be destructive to our dreams and our relationships. How hard is it to work toward a dream if you feel like the reason you're not getting there is because of other people? Yeah. That's helpless. That's helpless. If Patrick wants to be an Olympic wrestler and he's like, other people are keeping me from getting there, they're holding me back, the refs don't like me, you'll never achieve your goal if that's how you think. Yep. If you want to grow your business and you're like, this economy is too difficult, customers won't pay me what I'm worth, my coworkers don't make it happen, then you will never get to the dream. You'll never get to the end. Exactly. By taking ownership, you don't blame people, you learn from your mistakes, you foster a culture of accountability around you, celebrate all of it, successes and failures, we can achieve greatness in all aspects of our life, whether it's your schooling, your family, your sport, your team environment, your business, with your customers, your network, all that stuff. Embrace accountability with open hearts and minds. Work together, everyone in your network, everyone on your team, everyone in your family. Create a culture of growth, success, and greatness. So I'm going to talk about something that some people tune me out when I talk about this, and I don't care. You need to hear it. As Christians, we are called to be accountable to one another in our walk with God. This means being willing to share our struggles, praying for one another, hold each other accountable. I'm not talking about judgment. We're even kind of told to judge. You cannot judge someone's eternal, rewards or consequences. That's not what the Bible tells. But you do hold each other accountable. That is important. We're instructed. And I'm going to show you exactly where the Bible tells us to do that. Exactly where. So you don't have to take my word for it. The Bible makes it clear. Proverbs 27:17. It's a great one. Iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another. So this verse emphasizes the importance of accountability in strengthening each other's faith. You're not on an island. Can you have a great relationship with God by yourself? Absolutely. It is a personal thing. But we're also called to lift up and sharpen our fellow man.
Right.
Like, it is our job to take care of other Christians.
Exactly.
It's our job to take care of everybody on the planet, regardless of their faith.
Right.
But we are specifically called right here in Proverbs to sharpen each other in our faith. Encourage each other to grow in our walk with God. Galatians 6:2, bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. This verse speaks to the importance of accountability and supporting each other through life's struggles.
Yeah.
As Christians, we're called to bear one another's burdens and support one another through difficult times. It's not called the network of Christ. It is the family of Christ. We are all in a family together. And as much as I support Patrick through his struggles, I should support any other person, any other Christian that's struggling day to day. Help with their burdens, sharpen them, show them, set examples, remind them, right? We're accountable. God tells us. So whether you want to be accountable or not, whether you care, whether you believe it, it doesn't matter. God is holding you accountable. He's instructed us to bear one another's burdens. All of it comes down to the law of Christ. Love each other as I have loved you. Love each other as I have loved you. James 5:16. Therefore, confess your sins to one another and pray for one another that you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person has great power as it is working. This emphasizes the importance of accountability in confessing our sins to one another, seeking forgiveness. We're not asking our fellow men to forgive all our sins, but we're asking our fellow men to understand our sins, where we come from, and know that we are humble. And know that we're to ask God for forgiveness every day. Every day I fail as a human, as a father, as a business owner. Every day we fail. Every day certainly we fail as Christians, right? Anytime you're selfish at all, if you're like, I'm going to get this last bite of popcorn instead of David, you were selfish and we failed. We failed at all. It doesn't matter if you murdered somebody or you took the last cookie or took the last toilet paper. All of that selfishness, you have failed. It doesn't matter. Sin is sin is sin. And finally, on this topic, Hebrews 10:24 through 25, let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near. So this talks about the importance of accountability, encouraging one another to love and do good works. I hope if nothing else in the world, this podcast that I do encourages you to live a good life by your other man, to take care, encourage each other to love. I want everyone to love everybody. That's what I'm about. That's what I preach. Some people think I'm a little gruff. Some people think I'm, outspoken. God has blessed me with a bold mouth, a loud mouth, and a bold heart. Like, I feel it and I say it. Yeah. And that is important to a degree. It's not so good in traffic because I boldly feel like people are driving bad and I tell them, right? But, by meeting together regularly and holding each other accountable, we can strengthen our faith and prepare for the return of Christ, which, good God Almighty, it can't happen soon enough. I mean, I'd like to see Patrick wrestle in the Olympics first, but, it's not going to bother me when the day comes because we'll all wrestle in the golden mat in heaven. Oh, yeah. I have no idea. There probably one. So we're called to be accountable to one another in our walk with God by sharpening one another, bearing one another's burdens, confessing our sins, encouraging one another. We can strengthen our faith and grow in our relationship with God. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, children of all ages, if you develop and strengthen your relationship with God, every relationship in your life will be stronger and you will be happier. If you have a close walk with Jesus and a good relationship with God in heaven, the one who put you here, who said, here is Patrick Blake. Now the world is complete. I've added Patrick Blake. He's going to wrestle. He's going to be enormous. He's going to freak out his father with how much food he eats. You will have a better relationship across the board and a happier life if you understand a relationship with God. You just absolutely will. So as we wrap up this episode on accountability, it's clear accountability is an essential ingredient for personal and professional growth. Whether it's in business, our personal lives, being held accountable helps us to become better versions of ourselves, improve our relationships, and achieve our goals. It's important to approach accountability. It's important to approach accountability with empathy. Focus on the behavior. Provide clear expectations. Provide clear consequences. Recognize the benefits of accountability, both holding others and ourselves. Remember, accountability is not going to be a personal attack. It's a necessary step. If someone's holding you accountable, sometimes it can feel like you're attacking yourself. You're always down on yourself, but it's necessary on our journey towards greatness. We are inspiring to greatness. We must be willing to acknowledge our mistakes, acknowledge our shortcomings, be open to feedback, get a mentor who will tell you what you need to do to the next level. We can learn from our mistakes, grow in our personal and professional lives, and achieve our full potential. If you do not have accountability, if you do not take responsibility, you can never be the greatest salesperson, DJ, wedding coordinator, wrestler, father, son, parent. You will never be the best you can be until you understand you have to hold yourself responsible and accept accountability. Accountability is crucial to the success of any business. It creates a culture of responsibility, transparency, commitment. If you implement these tips we've talked about today, you can create a culture of accountability in your business that helps everyone achieve bigger and better goals. Remember, accountability is not a one-time thing, but an ongoing process that requires dedication and commitment. And together, all of us in the community, in your network, in your business, we can create a culture of growth, success, and greatness in all aspects of our life. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Inspired to Greatness. Please check back with us each and every week. Patrick, are you fired up?
Oh yeah,
I was so glad to have you on the show today. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
If you guys want to see him, if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, he's performing as Gaston in Disney Junior's Beauty and the Beast. It's going to be awesome. The shows will be in June, I think. So make sure you stay tuned. We'll let you know when that is. Please check back with us each and every week. We have some amazing guests coming up on the show. Dave Pappenmeyer's coming up in a couple weeks. We're going to get Michelle Hill on the show. It's going to be amazing. We're going to get Kimberly Brown on the show. She's a fantastic lady. You guys are going to love her. Visit our website, itgpodcast.com. You can find us on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeart, Spotify. If you want to be a guest on the show, go to itgpodcast.com/beourguest. If you have any questions or topic suggestions, email us. You can contact us and find all the stuff right there on the website at itgpodcast.com. So thanks again, my friends. Patrick, you're dope, brother. Go do amazing things. Be awesome. Go inspire, motivate, and dominate. Thanks.